We're done, Evelyn said, her voice practically a shout. I want a divorce. So this is how it starts? My new life hands me a wife, and wait, no. This is how it starts with my wife trying to kick me to the curb. My head was spinning. Why? There has to be a reason, right? Did I cheat on you? Evelyn took a deep, steadying breath. Fine. You want a reason. I'll ask you. The day before yesterday in the afternoon, did you or did you not go to that new tech campus on the west side to work? Liam, you actually snuck off to go to work. How could you do something like that? I just stared. Did I hear that right? Evelyn twisted the knife, her voice filled with anguish. And another thing, this morning, Mrs. Davis told me everything. She saw you. She saw you in the kitchen, making breakfast. Liam, you bastard. How could you? Me, my entire understanding of reality was being hit by a freight train. Was I hallucinating? Is this what happens after 3 all-nighters of coding? Who was this woman standing in front of me, beautiful enough to be a movie star? Why was she trying to shove a piece of paper on my nose? And this place. This couch was as soft as a cloud. The floors so polished I could see my reflection. This was definitely not the programmer's dorm/pigsty I called home. Liam, did you hear a word I said? The woman's voice jumped an octave. It was a nice voice, just filled with a whole lot of rage. I shook my head, tried to dislodge the sludge that had built up after 72 hours of debugging. Hang on. Wait a second. Ma'am, who are you? Do we know each other? And where the hell are we? The expression on her face shifted spectacularly, from fury to the kind of disbelief you'd reserve for a talking dog. Who am I? I'm your legally wedded wife, Evelyn Sterling. This is our home. And don't you dare play dumb with me, Liam. It won't work. Wife. Me, Liam. I looked down at the slinky silk pajamas I was wearing, touched my face, which felt smoother than I remembered, and my heart skipped a beat. A ridiculous but slightly thrilling thought popped into my head, dude. Did I just get transported into another reality? And not just any reality. One where I'm rich? This couch alone must cost more than my car. Okay, have Evelyn, right? I tried her name out. Let's just calm down. We can talk this through. What? What is that thing you're jabbing at me? A divorce agreement. Evelyn practically roared, slapping the papers down on the coffee table in front of me. Sign it now. Divorce. My new life hands me a wife. And nope. My new life starts with my wife kicking me out. What kind of nightmare mode is this? I quickly snatched up the papers and my eyes immediately landed on the bold, block letters at the top. Divorce agreement. My head was spinning even faster. But why? There has to be a reason, right? Did I cheat on you? I instinctively covered my kidney area. Evelyn crossed her arms and let out a cold laugh. The contempt in her eyes was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Cheat? You wish, Liam. I never thought you were this kind of person, putting on such a respectable act in public, but behind my back. You would do something like that. What did I do? Did I commit murder? Arson? Did I steal a catalytic converter? My heart was in my throat. What did I do? Just tell me. Even a guy on death row gets to know the charges. Evelyn inhaled sharply, as if the words themselves were shameful to speak. Fine, you want a reason? I'm asking you. What were you sneaking around doing the day before yesterday afternoon? The day before yesterday, I was in my old world, slaving away for my boss, fixing bugs. How the hell should I know what this Liam guy was up to? I had a guess. I went to a strip club? Hookers and blow. That's standard rich guy stuff, right? Bullshit. Evelyn's face flushed with anger. You went to that new tech campus on the west side. Someone saw you go in. You were there all afternoon. A tech campus? What would a rich guy in silk pajamas be doing there? Scouting investments. A hostile takeover. Seeing my blank, idiotic expression, Evelyn finally lost all patience, spitting out the answer through gritted teeth. You want to work? Liam, you actually snuck off to go to work. How could you do something like that? Me? Am I hearing things? Work? What's wrong with work? Isn't going to work perfectly normal. Wait a minute. Her expression, her tone. It was like I hadn't gone to work, but had been caught red-handed in a brothel raid. Is working shameful? Seeing that I was still silent, Evelyn delivered another blow, her voice dripping with pain. And another thing, this morning, Mrs. Davis told me everything. She saw you in the kitchen, making breakfast. Liam, you bastard. How could you? Me, my entire worldview was being shattered. Going to work, a heinous crime. Making breakfast, an unforgivable sin. Put those two together, and it was enough to get me thrown out on the street. What the hell kind of bizarre world is this? My mouth hung open, but no words came out. My CPU had officially fried. Seeing my state, Evelyn probably assumed I had no defense and was completely resigned. Her tone turned icy. Nothing to say for yourself, just sign it. The division of assets is spelled out clearly. You must also bear the suffering that is owed to you. After this, you can go enjoy yourself however you want. We'll have nothing to do with each other. Suffering? Enjoyment? Why did those words sound so backward? But wait, this was the key. The implication of her words was that working and doing chores are considered enjoyment here, and giving me money is considered suffering. So, in this world, working is a pleasure and spending money is a pain? Holy shit, a massive, indescribable wave of euphoria washed over all my confusion and shock. In my past life, I worked like a dog grinding through the rat race, all for a little bit of cash. And here, being a useless bum who just spends money is considered suffering. It makes you the pitiful one. And if I want to work, if I want to enjoy the pleasure of labor, I have to do it secretly, like a thief. This isn't nightmare mode. This is paradise. Oh, thank you, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, whoever is listening. You finally came through. This life is a kept man. I mean, this painful torment, I must endure it. This divorce, absolutely not. Just as Evelyn picked up a pen to shove into my hand, I let out a wail and dove forward. Not for the pen, but for her legs. I grabbed on and held tight. Honey, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I wailed with such genuine emotion that tears almost streamed down my face, mostly from trying not to laugh. I'm not human. I was possessed. I betrayed your trust. I shouldn't have gone to enjoy that damn job. I especially shouldn't have tasted the sweet nectar of housework. I'm a monster. Evelyn was startled and tried to pull her leg back. Let go. What's the use of saying all this now? It's useful. It is. I clung even tighter, refusing to let go for dear life. Honey, just give me one more chance. I swear, from now on, I will stay home like a good boy. I will never touch anything related to work again. I'll avoid the kitchen like the plague. If I see a broom, I'll throw it out. Let all the pain of spending money fall on me. Let all the joy of labor be yours. Please, don't divorce me. Let me spend the rest of my life repenting. Let me endure the torture of this fortune. While I howled, I secretly peeked at her expression. She seemed completely thrown by my sudden, 180-degree turn to groveling repentance. The anger was still on her face, but it was mixed with confusion and uncertainty. Are you serious? She asked skeptically. You promise you won't sneak off to enjoy yourself anymore? I promise. I swear. I held up 3 fingers. My expression is solemn, as if I were being sworn into office. Liam, if I ever touch work again, or do a single chore, may I win the lottery every day. May I find money on the street every time I go out. May I suffer to death from the pain of it all. Hearing my vicious oath, the corner of Evelyn's mouth seemed to twitch. She was silent for a few seconds, as if weighing her options. Finally, her tone softened slightly. All right, Liam, I'll trust you one last time. I'm taking the agreement back. But you remember what you said today? I'll be watching you. She yanked her leg out of my grasp and straightened her clothes. She was back to her cold, aloof self, but the murderous glint in her eyes had faded a bit. She picked up the divorce papers, turned, and walked away, leaving me with her stunning back and a final warning. You just stay at home. Experience your suffering and don't get any more funny ideas. The click-clack of her heels faded into the distance. I collapsed onto the plush carpet as if my bones had turned to jelly. Phew, that was close. This wonderful, painfully agonizing life that I'd always dreamed of was, for now, safe. So what was I supposed to do now? Oh, right. Spend money. Go suffer by spending money. What the hell is this life? I love it. I woke up whenever I felt like it, stretching luxuriously. Sunlight streamed through a crack in the curtains. I blinked for a few seconds, remembering that I had, in fact, been transported to another world and was now living my dream. I mean, my agonizingly painful life. Right, painful. I have to remember that I'm in constant pain. I slid my feet into plush slippers and ambled out of the bedroom. The house was quiet. Evelyn had probably already left to go. Enjoy herself? No, that's not right. She went to suffer the burdens of work. Yes, she had to go to the office and endure the terrible responsibility of being a leader and the pressure of making decisions. Poor thing. I wandered into the kitchen and opened the double-door refrigerator, which was bigger than the entire kitchen in my last apartment. It was packed to the brim. I pulled out some milk and bread, about to make myself some breakfast. The moment my hand touched the bread bag, I recoiled as if I'd been zapped. Crap, I almost made the mistake of enjoying myself again. This body's old habits were dangerous. I had to stay vigilant and remember that in this world, fending for yourself was a pleasure, a secret I couldn't let my wife discover. As I was staring at the milk carton and swallowing my drool, the front door opened. Evelyn walked in, dressed in a power suit that looked frighteningly expensive, a folder in her hand. She saw me frozen in front of the fridge, and her brow furrowed immediately. Liam, what are you doing standing here? Were you thinking of cooking again? No, absolutely not. I threw my hands up in surrender, my expression more wrong than a Shakespearean tragedy hero. I was just looking. Evelyn shot me a skeptical glance and placed the folder on the kitchen island. It had better be. This is for you. She slid a black card across the counter. It had some kind of gold foil design I didn't recognize, but it screamed exclusive. What's this? A new driver's license. I picked it up. It felt cool to the touch. This is your punishment for sneaking off to enjoy yourself, Evelyn said, crossing her arms. I had this card specially made for you. You are required to have an agonizing month. This will teach you a lesson. You can't spend all the money at once. You must prolong your suffering. Let's see if you dare to sneak around for pleasure again. I held the card, my hand trembling slightly. Not from fear, but it was from pure excitement. But I had to look devastated. Right, devastated. Huh, honey, my voice caught with a sob from trying to stifle my laughter. This is too much to bear. The intangible pressure, this cold, hard plastic. It's as if it's mocking my incompetence. It wants to drag me into the abyss of consumerism. I can't breathe. Evelyn nodded, satisfied. She seemed to appreciate my performance of agony. You promised when we got married. You would be responsible for the suffering, and I would be responsible for all the enjoyment of work. But look how long it's been, and you're already going behind my back to enjoy yourself. This is your punishment. I'll be checking the balance every day. You have to meet the goal. I'll have Mrs. Davis come in later to avoid you stealing the joy of her housework. With that, she picked up her folder and strode out as quickly as she had come, leaving me alone with a black card that represented endless torment. I watched her disappear, then looked down at the card in my hand and pinched my thigh. Hard. Ouch. It hurt. This wasn't a dream. Oh, dear Lord, please give me more of this suffering. I scarfed down half a slice of leftover bread from yesterday. That doesn't count as making it myself, right? Tucking my source of all misery into my pocket, I marched out the door, head held high, ready to face my punishment. My destination, the nearest high-end luxury mall. Let the vile corruption of money wash over me. When I arrived, I stood before the glittering, opulent entrance and took a deep breath. I adjusted my expression, trying my best to look like a man walking to the gallows. The moment I stepped inside, a blast of cool air hit me. So refreshing. So torturous. A sales associate in a slim-fit suit with slick-back hair immediately approached me. He wore a bizarre smile that was 3 parts pity and 7 parts encouragement. Good morning, sir. Is there anything I can do to help you endure some hardship today? He gave a slight bow, his tone both respectful and compassionate. His greeting almost made me break character. I cleared my throat to cover it up. Yes, I'm in great pain. Tremendous pain. I need something. Something that will deepen my suffering. I understand, sir. Completely, the associate said with a knowing look. Please follow me. We've just received several new items that are guaranteed to make our clients acutely miserable. He led me to a glass counter displaying a row of gleaming watches. The numbers on the price tags were long enough to make my eyes swim. Sir, perhaps this model, he said, pulling on a pair of white gloves and carefully taking out a watch. Entirely handcrafted, the face is inlaid with. He rattled off a bunch of technical terms I didn't understand. I took the watch. It was heavy, the cool metal band resting against my wrist. This is the one, I said, squeezing my eyes shut in pain as I handed him the card. Let me bear this burden alone. As the transaction went through, the crisp sound of the receipt printer was like a dagger to my heart, mostly a conditioned reflex from a lifetime of being broke. The associate handed me the shopping bag with a look of profound respect, as if I were a martyr heroically sacrificing myself, carrying this heavy shackle. I felt my suffering persona becoming more convincing. Next up, clothes. I walked into a store that looked impossibly expensive and pointed randomly at a plain-looking t-shirt. This one, I'll try it on. The saleswoman smiled brightly as she took it down. Excellent choice, sir. This piece is hand-stitched. It's made from a particularly delicate fabric that requires constant, careful maintenance. The slightest snag could ruin it, providing you with the ongoing enjoyment of upkeep. Me, there's bonus enjoyment. I tried it on. It was a bit tight, the collar uncomfortably snug around my neck. The clerk immediately added, yes, this style is quite particular. That slight sense of constriction is one of its signature features. I had to hand it to them. Everyone in this world was a master of spin. Perfect. I'll take it. That's exactly the kind of constriction I'm looking for, I said through gritted teeth. After a long, painful shopping spree, I was laden with several bags, each representing a different form of misery. Checking the time, I decided to head back home to continue my agony. Just as I reached the mall entrance, I ran into a familiar face, my next-door neighbor, Mrs. Wallace. She was also carrying a mountain of bags and looked utterly exhausted. Oh, Liam. Mrs. Wallace spotted me, her eyes scanning the bags in my hands. She immediately put on an expression of shared suffering. You're out enduring too? That I am, Mrs. Wallace. I sighed, shaking my bags for effect. Life forces our hand. What can you do? Mrs. Wallace nodded in solidarity. Isn't that the truth? Just look at these dark circles under my eyes. Your Evelyn is so lucky. Look how capable you are, taking on so much pain all by yourself. Me? Haha, it's my duty. Inside, I was doing a victory dance. By the way, Mrs. Wallace leaned in, lowering her voice. I heard a new private clinic opened up downtown. It specializes in post-purchase trauma. They say it's quite effective. Want to go check it out together? Me? I think I'm good for now. Thank you, Mrs. Wallace. I feel like I can tolerate a little more. After bidding farewell to the very kind Mrs. Wallace, I hurried home. I walked in to find Evelyn was already back, sitting on the living room sofa, sipping tea and reading through a document. She glanced up at the pile of conspicuously branded shopping bags in my hands, then at my fatigued expression, and nodded. Looks like you had a productive day. Your suffering seems quite fulfilling. I dropped the bags and collapsed onto the sofa, groaning weakly. Honey, I'm dying. I'm in so much pain today. Can I please have a little enjoyment? How about I handle the chores today? Evelyn put down her document and walked over, her voice cold. No, until you spend all that money, you're not to touch a single chore. And from now on, every month, if you want to do housework, you'll have to submit a formal request for my approval. Me? All right. She continued slowly. That's a good boy. You must be tired. Go get some rest. I'll make dinner. My eyes lit up. Really? I'd like to have. Quiet, she cut me off. The pleasure of choosing your meal is still a pleasure. You'll eat what I make. Just obediently endure the unknown torment to your taste buds. Me? Yes, honey. Thank you, honey. Ugh, I can't even decide what to eat. This life is just so painful. Watching Evelyn's back as she walked toward the kitchen, I thought to myself with glee, where should I go to suffer tomorrow? After a few days of this divine routine, eat, sleep, wake up, and figure out where to go suffer, I felt like I was being pickled in this extreme pain. Every morning, I had to spend 3 seconds recalibrating my brain to the beautifully backward rules of this world before I could start another day of agony while trying to hold back a smile. This morning, I was sprawled on the couch, using my beat-up old phone to research which restaurant in the city was the most disgusting and the most expensive, a new suffering assignment from Evelyn, when the doorbell rang. I was a little confused. Mrs. Davis, the housekeeper, had just left, and Evelyn wouldn't be back at this hour. I shuffled to the door in my slippers. Standing outside was my neighbor, Mrs. Wallace, holding a delicate little basket. "Oh, Liam, you're home," she chirped, peeking inside. "Ah, Mrs. Wallace, please come in." I quickly stepped aside. Mrs. Wallace came in and placed the small basket on the coffee table. "Just some cookies I baked. Thought you two might like to try them." "Thank you so much." "Evelyn's not home?" Mrs. Wallace asked as she sat down. "She's at the office," I replied with a straight face. As expected, Mrs. Wallace's face filled with envy. "Sigh, Evelyn is just so fortunate. And look at you, Liam. So young, yet you bear the heavy burden of spending all this money by yourself. Your face looks even more haggard than a few days ago, probably because I was up all night gaming. You're such a good husband. It must be so hard on you." I waved my hand humbly. "Not at all, not at all. It's what I ought to do, to share the pain for the people. I mean, for my wife is my solemn duty." The little man inside me was doing cartwheels. Mrs. Wallace showered me with a few more compliments about being responsible and knowing how to dote on his wife before she left, completely satisfied. I hadn't even chosen a place to suffer yet when, around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, the doorbell rang again. This time I didn't think much of it, assuming it was Mrs. Wallace again or a delivery. Yes, receiving packages is also a pain because you have to unbox them. I just pulled the door open, and then I froze. Standing outside were a man and a woman in their 50s. They were impeccably dressed, with serious expressions. The fragmented memories I had of this world came crashing down on me. Holy crap. It was my father-in-law and mother-in-law. A cold sweat broke out on my back. In the original owner's memory, these two were staunch traditionalists, strict adherents to the virtues of laziness and profligacy. If they found out I'd secretly enjoyed working and doing chores just a few days ago, they'd skin me alive. "Dad, Mom, what? What are you two doing here?" I quickly forced a smile and stepped aside. Come in. You didn't say you were coming. Look at me. I haven't prepared anything." My first instinct was to say, "I'll go make some tea," but I caught myself just in time. My father-in-law, Mr. Sterling, grunted in acknowledgement and walked in with his hands behind his back, his eyes scanning the living room like a searchlight. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Sterling, followed him, her gaze just as sharp. My heart pounded as I guided them to the main sofa. "Where's Evelyn?" my father-in-law asked, his voice low. "She's at the office," I answered quickly, standing obediently to the side like a student caught by the dean. Mrs. Sterling looked me up and down, her brow furrowed. "Liam, I hear you've been a little restless lately?" My heart dropped. Here it comes, the interrogation. I immediately put on a mournful expression and began my performance. "Dad, Mom, I know I was wrong. I was foolish. I was possessed. I have come to a profound understanding of my mistakes. I have solemnly apologized to Evelyn and sworn a terrible oath. From now on, I will turn over a new leaf and firmly walk the correct path of suffering through spending." I was one step away from swearing on a Bible. My father-in-law grunted but said nothing. My mother-in-law's expression softened slightly, but the scrutiny in her eyes didn't lessen. She suddenly pointed to my phone on the coffee table. "You've had that phone for a while, haven't you?" I blinked, picking up my admittedly dated phone. Yes. It's been a while. What did my phone do to anyone, I wondered. "Then why haven't you replaced it?" My mother-in-law's voice suddenly shot up. "Liam, is this how you neglect your duties?" I flinched. "What? She pointed a finger at me, her voice filled with disappointment. "A phone that doesn't work well means it can't make you suffer properly. And look at that worn-out case, that obsolete model. It is completely unworthy of your status as the son-in-law of the Sterling family. It is incapable of providing you with a suffering experience befitting your station." "Me? You have got to be kidding me." My father-in-law chimed in with a deep voice. "Your mother is right. As Evelyn's husband, you must at all times maintain a level of suffering that matches your status. Using such a comfortable old device is a form of laziness, even a perverted form of enjoyment." I was completely stunned. I was used to being broke. A phone that wasn't broken was a phone you used. Here, it was a moral failing? My mother-in-law grew more agitated, turning to my father-in-law. "Arthur, this is unacceptable. We can't let our son-in-law continue like this. What will people say if this gets out? They'll say we found a son-in-law who has no idea how to share our daughter's pain." She whipped her head back to me, her tone decisive. "Liam, you will go right now, this instant, down to that flagship store. You will buy the newest model, the top-of-the-line specs, and you will get it in that new color they just released, the deep orchid one that's supposedly full of bloatware. You must buy it. My jaw dropped. You mean there are people who will force you to buy things? I mean, force you to deepen your suffering? This is amazing. Mom, that's not necessary, is it? I tried to put up a token resistance. Not necessary? Her eyes widened. Have you forgotten what you promised when you marry my daughter? Are you going back on your word now? My father-in-law delivered the final verdict. Listen to your mother. Consider this a test. A test to see if you're truly determined to mend your ways. Looking at their serious, this is for your own good expressions, I knew there was no getting out of this. I lower my head painfully, my voice choked with emotion from holding back laughter. Oh, okay. Dad, Mom, thank you for your guidance and concern. I'll go right now. I grabbed my old phone and my source of all misery black card. With heavy steps, I walked out the door, looking back every few feet. The moment I was downstairs and the wind hit my face, I almost jumped for joy. Newest model, top specs, deep orchid, and the version with the most software pre-installed. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, you are the greatest parent a guy could ask for. Please, test me with this kind of suffering as often as you like. I practically sprinted to the phone store, already planning which games I was going to download on my new phone. This wicked, old society. No, this beautiful new world, it's so painful. I just can't get enough. I was bored. So damn bored. Sure, suffering by spending money was novel for the first couple of days. It was like a video game, figuring out how to max out my misery points. But doing it every day was getting old. I was developing aesthetic fatigue, just looking at the pile of new torture devices, clothes, shoes, watches. And maybe it was a side effect of being a corporate drone in my past life, but my hands were getting twitchy. They were desperate for something to do. If I saw a single hair on the floor, I had to curl my toes to stop myself from picking it up. If I saw a speck of dust on the coffee table, my fingers would start trembling like I had Parkinson's. This life was painful, all right, but it was the pain of soul-crushing boredom. Evelyn, on the other hand, was always busy, leaving early and coming home late, her face etched with the fatigue of enjoying her work. Every time I saw how tired she was, my heart ached. With sympathy, right sympathy. This afternoon, I was on my 18th lap of haunting the living room like a ghost. My eyes swept over the entryway cabinet and suddenly stopped. The handle on the cabinet door was a little loose. I could have sworn it was fine yesterday. A dangerous thought, sprouting like a weed in spring, shot up from the labor-starved soil of my heart. What if I just tighten a little, just a couple of turns with a screwdriver? That doesn't count as a chore, right? At worst, it's fixing a toy that broke. Yes, that's it. I'm fixing a toy. The cabinet handle is just a large toy. I was convinced by my own genius logic. The tiny bit of guilt I felt was instantly washed away by the thrill of finally getting to use my hands. I tiptoed to the utility closet. Don't ask why we had one. Just assume the original owner was also a latent enjoyment offender. I found the smallest screwdriver I could, and like a thief in the night, snuck back to the entryway. I crouched in front of the cabinet, took a deep breath, and felt like a bomb disposal expert. I carefully placed the tip of the screwdriver into the small screw at the base of the handle and gently turned. Ugh, a bit tight. A little more force. Yes, just like that. Slowly. Feel the threads of the screw. Oh, that perfect resistance. The mechanical beauty of it all. I was completely lost in this forbidden pleasure, forgetting the time, the place, and the ironclad rules of this world. Liam, a cool voice suddenly sounded from behind me. It was like a bucket of ice water dumped over my head, extinguishing my stolen moment of joy. My entire body went rigid. The screwdriver fell from my hand with a clatter. My neck, feeling rusty, turned one creaky notch at a time. Evelyn was standing in the doorway, briefcase in hand. Her face was blank as she just looked at me. Then she looked at the screwdriver in my hand, and then at the half-tightened handle. Busted, caught red-handed, at the scene of the enjoyment. 100 excuses flashed through my mind, like I was checking to see if it was broken, or this thing was an eyesore, I was going to dismantle it. But they all sounded pathetic. I gave a weak laugh and tried to stand up, my leg having fallen asleep. Oh, honey, you're home early today. Evelyn didn't answer. She placed her briefcase on the nearby shoe bench. She walked over slowly, crouched down, and picked up the small screwdriver from the floor. She held it, examined it, then looked up at me. Her eyes held none of the fury I expected, no reprimand. Just a deep, profound disappointment and a hint of sadness I couldn't decipher. My heart sank. This was worse than being yelled at. You, she began, her voice soft and flat. You just couldn't help yourself, could you? My throat was dry. I couldn't say a word. What could I say? That I'm fidgety, that I was bored out of my mind. She looked me in the eyes and said slowly, all the chores in this house are mine. That's what we agreed on when we got married. Did you forget? You just wanted to take away what's mine that badly. Her voice was even softer now, but the question hit me like a hammer. No, absolutely not. I denied it instantly, my scalp tingling. Honey, let me explain. I just saw it was loose. I was afraid it would fall off and hit your foot. I was doing it for safety reasons. Yes, safety. Evelyn stared at me for a few seconds, then placed the small screwdriver back in my hand. For safety reasons, you could have waited for me to get home and told me to fix it, instead of doing it yourself. She stood up, no longer looking at me. Her voice returned to its usual coolness, but with something else mixed in. It seems the pain of just spending money is too easy for you. You need a more profound experience. A chill ran down my spine. Here it comes. The sentencing. She took out her phone, swiped a few times, and held it in front of my face. Tomorrow, go here. Order every single signature dish on this list. And eat all of it. No wasting food. I'll be checking the receipt. I looked down at the phone screen. It was the page for a super famous restaurant in the city. Famous not because it was good, but because it was outrageously expensive and notorious online for its bizarrely flavored, weirdly shaped dishes. It was universally known by netizens as a culinary execution ground. My vision went dark. This punishment was brutal. This was so much worse than a lecture. Oh, honey, my voice was trembling. Isn't this a little too expensive? And that's so much food. I might not be able to finish it. If you can't finish, then eat slowly. Eat until they close, Evelyn said, her face expressionless. Suffering must be absolute. Experience the surprise of the ingredients blooming in your mouth. Feel the dual cleansing of your wallet and your taste buds. This will help you remember what you should and shouldn't do. With that, she turned and walked away. She paused after a few steps without looking back and added, "What do you want for dinner? I'll make it. How about some plain porridge? Cleanse your palate and prepare for tomorrow's feast." I was left holding the small, cold screwdriver, watching my wife's unforgiving back, and thinking about tomorrow's horrifying meal. I felt I truly had it coming. I looked down at the screwdriver and muttered under my breath, "This is all your fault. You got me into this mess." Then, resigned to my fate, I pulled out my phone and started searching for reviews and survival guides for the restaurant. As I read the tearful and bloody account from other diners, describing things like Stargazy Pie Pro Max, deep-fried durian-stuffed blue cheese, and cilantro matcha lattes, my stomach began to churn in anticipation. It looked like there was no escaping this painful feast. Oh, the humanity! All I did was tighten a screw. Was this really necessary? The next morning, I was jolted awake by a nightmare. I dreamed of fish with wings staring at me with unblinking eyes and giant balls of blue cheese chasing me. I checked my phone. It was only 7 a.m. Evelyn was already gone. On the dining table was a glass of milk, a slice of bread, and a note printed with a single, ruthless line. "Don't forget your task for today. Have an enjoyable meal." Enjoyable my ass. My hands were shaking as I held the note. It felt like a death row inmate receiving his execution notice. I dragged myself through my morning routine, ate my last meal of breakfast, and left the house with the grim determination of someone heading to a funeral, my source of all misery, black card in my pocket. The restaurant's facade looked quite upscale, but its name had a sinister vibe, the Gastronomic Gauntlet. Damn, even the name was blunt, making sure everyone knew they were walking in to suffer. I pushed the door open, and a waiter in a black uniform, his expression as solemn as a priest's, greeted me. "A table for one, sir. Are you here to experience our ultimate flavor challenge?" His tone was so grave, he might as well have been asking if I was there for a memorial service. I nodded grimly, my voice hoarse. "Yes, I'm here to be cleansed. I understand. Please follow me. I will arrange a table for you that allows for a more immersive suffering experience. He led me to a table under a spotlight, isolated from the others, probably so I could have a meltdown or make a run for it without disturbing anyone. He handed me a thick menu, not on paper, but on a tablet. Each dish had a short, ominous description that made my eye twitch. Sir, would you like me to recommend some of our more distinctive dishes? The waiter asked helpfully. I closed my eyes and steeled myself. No need for recommendations, just give me the ultimate despair set menu. I pointed to the most expensive option with the most courses. If I was going to die, I might as well go out with a bang. A flash of respect crossed the waiter's eyes. An excellent and courageous choice, sir. Please wait a moment. Your journey is about to begin. The wait felt endless. I couldn't sit still. I kept scrolling on my phone to distract myself, but my mind was filled with images of the horrors to come. The first course arrived, a huge platter covered with a silver cloche. With the solemnity of unveiling a sacred relic, the waiter whisked the cover off. Sir, please enjoy our signature appetizer, Misunderstanding of the Sea and Sky. I looked down and almost slid out of my chair. It was a supersized version of a stargazy pie. Several fish heads stared lifelessly up from a grayish-green sludge, their eyes fixed on the ceiling. The crust looked so thick and hard you could probably break a tooth on it. The waiter explained, we use the heads of deep-sea despair fish, paired with a specially made bitter pea puree. The crust is baked for an extended period, giving it an extremely tough texture. It requires considerable bite force, which we hope will provide you with a measure of enjoyment. My hand trembled as I picked up my fork. After several attempts, I managed to spear a small piece of the gunk fish I included and shoved it into my mouth with my eyes squeezed shut. Salty, fishy, and a weird grassy aftertaste. The fish eye seemed to be staring at me from inside my mouth. I almost threw up on the spot. The taste buds in this world were, unfortunately, the same as my old ones. I chugged a large glass of water and shakily took out my phone. I snapped a picture of the dish and sent it to Evelyn with the caption, Honey, the first appetizer torture. I think my taste buds are committing mass suicide. Evelyn didn't reply. She was probably busy enjoying her work, with no time for me. The second course came. The main course, a gift from the Cheese Inferno. It was a huge block of blue-black cheese wrapped around a piece of fried chicken, drizzled with a deep purple sauce. The smell was like a mixture of sweaty socks and rubbing alcohol that had been left to ferment for a month. The waiter. The blue cheese undergoes a special process to make its flavor even more robust. The crispy exterior and the tender chicken within create a powerful contrast, designed to assault your sensory perception. I took a tiny bite. The indescribable, overpowering funk of the cheese shot straight to my brain. The taste of the chicken was completely obliterated, leaving only a cloying saltiness and a bizarre, fermented sourness. Tears welled up in my eyes. I sent another picture to Evelyn. Honey, second course. My nose and tongue have declared independence from my body. Still no reply. Third course, fourth course. Cilantro matcha lava cake, sweet, salty, and tasted like toothpaste. Sichuan peppercorn chocolate braised beef, so numbing my tongue felt like it was dancing, and sickeningly sweet. Dish after dish, each one a new challenge to my humanity, was brought to the table. I take a bite, drink half a glass of water, take a breather, and take another bite. My face probably looked worse than if I'd been crying. Occasionally, other inmates would cast sympathetic glances my way. At one point, I couldn't take it anymore and ran to the bathroom to throw up. When I came back and saw the table still laden with these mostly untouched instruments of torture, I just wanted to lie down and give up. But I couldn't. Evelyn would check the receipt. She'd know I hadn't finished. The consequences could be even worse. So I forced myself to continue the battle against the food. All the while, I kept sending Evelyn pictures to complain. Honey, it's looking at me. Honey, this flavor is an insult to my very being. Honey, I think I'm about to achieve enlightenment. Honey, do you still love me? She never replied. I started to wonder if she'd blocked me. I don't know how much time passed. My sense of taste was completely numb, and my vision was starting to blur. But the dishes on the table were finally, mostly, gone, though the process had been brutal. I called the waiter for the check. looking at the ridiculously long bill. This time, the pain in my wallet was real and visceral. Spending so much money to eat a pile of garbage. What a sin. The waiter respectfully handed back my card. Sir, you're the only guest today who has successfully completed the ultimate despair set menu. This is your certificate of courage. He handed me a small, hard card with a crying face medal drawn on it. I held the card, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, my stomach churning. Dragging my hollowed-out body, I shuffled my way home. With every step, I could feel the bizarre flavors sloshing around in my gut. I opened the door with my fingerprint, and a faint, familiar scent of rice filled the air. Evelyn was in the kitchen, wearing an apron. She was just carrying a steaming bowl of white porridge to the dining table. She took in my pale face and unsteady gait. She glanced at the ridiculous certificate of courage in my hand, and the corner of her mouth seemed to twitch. "You're back?" she asked, her tone neutral. "How was the cleansing?" I collapsed into a chair, weak and barely able to speak. "Honey, I feel I'm not myself anymore. My soul, it was beaten senseless by those dishes." Evelyn pushed the bowl of porridge toward me. Good. That means it was a profound experience. Have some porridge. It'll settle your stomach." I looked at the simple, clean, white porridge. I had never seen anything so beautiful, so welcoming. This was the nectar of the gods, sent to save my miserable life. I picked up the bowl, didn't even bother with a spoon, and started gulping it down. The warm porridge slid down my throat, soothing my tormented stomach and nerves. "Slow down," Evelyn said, then added, as if an afterthought, "Just don't make the same mistake again." As I drank the porridge, I snuck a glance at her. Her face was still expressionless, but her eyes didn't seem so cold anymore. Maybe, possibly, perhaps, this death-defying, painful feast was worth it. At the very least, this bowl of porridge was damn delicious. After that life-altering execution ground feast, I was on my best behavior for several days. The memory of my stomach churning in protest was a constant reminder of the painful price of secretly enjoying labor. I spent my days obediently vegetating on a couch, binge-watching shows and reading novels, trying my best to play the part of a proper, suffering wastrel. But a man can only lie around for so long before his bones turn to jelly. And as a lifelong gamer from my past life, a life without video games is an incomplete one. Surely this world had video games, right? The question was, how were they viewed? As an act of suffering buying expensive games and hardware, or as a form of pleasure? I mulled it over for days, too scared to make a move. If it was judged as another form of enjoyment, I couldn't handle another cilantro matcha hot pot punishment. Finally, I decided on a flanking maneuver. I painfully spent a fortune on a brand new, top-of-the-line VR gaming system. My logic was sound. The hardware itself was expensive, so that part was suffering, right? And you could spend real money inside the virtual world, too. Clearly, I was embarking on a comprehensive training regimen of misery. The day the system was delivered, I was practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. But under the delivery guy's pitying gaze, I had to maintain a somber expression, as if I were about to be subjected to yet another technological torture device. The second he was gone, I locked the door. I tore open the box, connected the wires, and strapped on the headset in one smooth motion. Whoa. The resolution, the immersion. This is incredible. I picked a zombie shooter. With a virtual weapon in my hands, I started blasting away at the undead hordes lunging at me. I was dodging, weaving, my adrenaline pumping. It felt so good, I was yelling out loud. "Come at me, you maggots. Eat lead. Haha. Yeah, look at these moves. This aim. I've still got it." I was completely lost in the game, forgetting the time, the place, and especially the bizarre rules of this world. With the VR headset on, I was flailing my arms and legs, providing my own sound effects. Pew! Boom! Rat-a-tat-tat. Just as I executed a slick slide to dodge a bloated zombie's lunge, preparing for a stylish counterkill. "Liam," Evelyn's voice. It wasn't loud, but it was like a needle precisely popping my bubble of joy. I froze mid-slide. In the virtual world, the fat zombie took a chunk out of my neck, and my screen went gray. Crap. I fumbled to take off the headset, my head still spinning a little. I saw Evelyn, who had come in at some point, standing in the doorway, quietly watching me. Her expression was neutral, but her eyes were complex. My heart dropped. Busted. Again, and this time it looked even more like I was enjoying myself. I was jumping and yelling. "Oh, honey, what did you get back?" I tried to hide the headset behind my back like a kid caught reading comics in class. Just now, Evelyn walked in, her gaze sweeping over the empty game box on the floor before landing on the headset in my hands, which was clearly still warm from a heated battle. "What is this?" This is... My brain was spinning. It's a new type of... willpower training device. Yes, a training device. It simulates various extreme and painful environments to temper my spirit. I was just in there, spending money, and the pain made me cry out. I tried my best to look sincere and tormented. Evelyn didn't say anything. She reached out, took the VR headset from my hands, and examined it. My palms started to sweat. "Painful cries," she repeated, glancing up at me. "Come at me, you maggots." "Yeah? Eat lead." Are these the new motivational slogans for willpower training? Me? My face turned beet red. I stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Evelyn placed the headset back on the table. Her tone was unreadable. "It seems that suffering on a merely material level is no longer enough for you. You've begun to explore spiritual enjoyment." I wanted to scream. It's not my fault. I just wanted to play a game. I didn't know it would be this much fun. "Honey, let me explain this thing. It's really..." "No need to explain." Evelyn cut me off. She didn't seem as disappointed as when she found me with the screwdriver, but there was a new wariness. "You like this kind of dynamic activity?" I shook my head vigorously. "No, not all. It makes me dizzy, nauseous. I want to throw up." I immediately mimed about a vertigo. Evelyn watched my performance in silence for a few seconds before speaking. "From now on, when you train, you are not to close the door." I froze. "Huh," I said. "When you use this training device from now on, the door stays open," Evelyn said, her tone flat, but leaving no room for argument. "I need to be able to confirm at any time that you are engaged in effective pain tolerance exercises and not experiencing something you shouldn't be." I was dumbfounded. Gaming with the door open? That was like playing naked in the street. She would hear all my door key over the top yelling. That's probably not a good idea, right?" I try to argue. "I'd just be disturbing you, and the training visuals can be a bit gory. I wouldn't want to scare you." "I'm not scared," Evelyn said coolly. "In fact, it will be a good opportunity for me to understand the specific forms of this new hardship. I wouldn't want to fall behind the speed of your progress." With a final, meaningful look, she turned and left, helpfully leaving the door wide open. I watched her leave, then looked at the expensive source of misery on the floor, and then at the open door. I felt completely deflated. Great. Now my VR gaming sessions would be like going to my own execution with a live audience. I dejectedly packed up the equipment, my mood to play completely gone. Dinner that evening was a little awkward. Evelyn didn't mention the game again, but she would occasionally look at me with the expression of a scientist studying a new species. I kept my head down and ate, not daring to speak. After a long silence, she suddenly spoke, as if making a casual inquiry. "That training device. It was very expensive, wasn't it?" I almost choked. I nodded quickly. "Yes, outrageously expensive." "Good." She nodded. "At least the foundation of the suffering is solid." "Me? Honey, your priorities are truly one of a kind." She was quiet for another moment, then tapped her bowl with her chopsticks. "Next time you train, if you really can't help but yell, you could try to be a little quieter. It's not good if the neighbors hear." I looked up at her, stunned. She immediately looked back down at her food, but I could have sworn the tips of her ears were turning slightly pink. I stared for a few seconds, and suddenly, all my frustration melted away. A grin started to spread across my face. I quickly took a big bite of rice to hide my smile and mumbled, "Oh, got it." It seemed this open door, painful training might not be so bad after all. At least the audience didn't seem entirely unsympathetic. Hith. 7 after a few days of peace, I started to notice a strange atmosphere in our condo complex. Normally, people just gave a polite nod when they passed each other, or at most, like Mrs. Wallace, would commiserate about the pain of their spending habits. But for the past few days, The groups of retirees gathering in the community garden were buzzing with intense conversation. They all looked grave, sighing dramatically. You'd think the HOA fees had gone up. As a connoisseur of gossip, a professional hazard from my past life, I couldn't miss out on this. One afternoon, I pretended to go out for a painful shopping trip, but really, I just sidled up to the edge of a group, my ears wide open. I heard Mr. Henderson pounding his leg, saying with a pained expression, "Ugh, don't get me started. Last month, my ungrateful son insisted I buy one of those fancy massage chairs. The agony I've been through." Mrs. Gable immediately jumped in. "You think that's bad? My daughter is even worse. She secretly signed me up for some Antarctic cruise. In this cold, shivering my days away on a glacier, I had no choice but to bite the bullet and buy several fur coats. These old bones of mine almost didn't make it back." Yes, the younger generation these days is so thoughtless, always finding new ways to increase our suffering. Exactly, no consideration at all. I listened, completely bewildered. Wow, so this was a competition in complaining? No, wait, in this world, this was a genuine, heartfelt grievance session. I was engrossed in the drama when our property manager, Mr. Davidson, walked over with a megaphone. "Attention, residents, quiet down, please," Mr. Davidson announced, his face also looking heavy with burden. "The board has heard your suffering. We understand completely. To better document everyone's hardships and foster a sense of community sympathy and understanding, we have decided to host our community's first annual Most Pitiful Family competition next week." The crowd of seniors perked up immediately. "A competition? How does it work? Does the family that suffer the most win?" Mr. Davidson nodded. "Exactly. Every household can submit evidence. For example, large credit card bills, luxury receipts. We will have a public vote, and the family with the most votes will be awarded the title of Model Suffering Couple. And they will also receive a special, joyful prize." My heart sank. A dark premonition washed over me. This event sounded like a huge pain, and it would definitely involve public appearances. I just wanted to stay home and suffer in peace, not participate in some ridiculous competition. Besides, their idea of a joyful prize was bound to be something terrible. I tried to sneak away, but the sharp-eyed Mr. Davidson spotted me. "Hey, Liam, don't go," he called out, enthusiastically grabbing my arm. "Your family has to participate. Everyone in this community knows you two have it the hardest. You at home, bearing the heavy burden of spending all day long. You're a prime example. If you don't participate, the whole event will lose its prestige." "Me? Thanks a lot." The surrounding neighbors all chimed in. "That's right, Liam. Your family will definitely win." "Exactly. Look how hard Evelyn works, and look how miserable you are," meaning how much money you spend. "We all feel for you. Set an example for the young people." I was trapped. I could only force a smile and agree. We'll participate. Of course, we'll participate." When I got home, I told Evelyn about it with a long face. I expected a cool, aloof person like her to be disdainful of such a silly neighborhood activity. To my surprise, after hearing me out, she just frowned slightly and then nodded. "All right, since it's a community event, it's probably best we participate. We don't want people saying we're antisocial or enjoying special treatment." I was taken aback. "Honey, you really want to do this? We have to prepare materials, maybe even give a speech. It's so much trouble." Evelyn glanced at me. "Trouble? The evidence is right here." She pointed at the luxury shopping bags and watch boxes I had tossed on the sofa. "Organize those, find all the receipts." And she took out her phone, swiped a few times, and pulled up some photos. There were pictures she must have taken of me at that culinary execution ground restaurant. In the photos, I was staring at a table of bizarre food, my face a twisted mask of despair. "Aren't these the best proofs of suffering?" she asked calmly. "Honey, this is a bit embarrassing, isn't it?" I tried one last time. "Embarrassing?" Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "This is a showcase of our achievements in enduring pain. What's there to be embarrassed about?" I had no rebuttal. "Fine, whatever you say." For the next few days, Evelyn was surprisingly invested, personally organizing the receipts and photos. She even wrote short, painful descriptions for each item. I assisted, mainly by painfully recalling the emotions I felt while spending the money and eating that crap. That food. On the day of the competition, the community center was packed. Family after family went on stage, emotionally recounting their tales of woe. One man spoke of his son winning the lottery, forcing the whole family to share the agony of that massive windfall. Another woman told of her boss giving her an unprompted multi-million-dollar bonus, and her lawsuit against the company for creating a hostile, joyful environment had failed, so now she had to painfully spend it all herself. Each story was met with tearful sympathy and applause from the audience. It was our turn. I tried to push Evelyn to go up, but she just gave me a look. You have more first-hand experience. You should speak. Me? Honey, you're throwing me under the bus. I was forced onto the stage, my legs feeling a bit like jelly as I looked out at the sea of sympathetic and expectant faces. I took out the speech Evelyn had prepared and began to read stiffly. Hello, everyone. I'm Liam, and this is my wife, Evelyn. Our family's suffering primarily stems from. As I spoke, I held up the ridiculously long receipts and the photo of my tormented face at the restaurant. Whispers started to ripple through the crowd. Wow, look at all that. You can see it on his face. That's real pain. Evelyn is so lucky. When will I find a husband that considerate? Unsurprisingly, Evelyn and I won by a landslide, becoming the community's first ever model suffering couple. That damned model suffering couple certificate sat on my coffee table for days like a hot potato. I fretted over it constantly, but Evelyn acted as if nothing had happened. I cautiously broached the subject, honey, about this. Honor, maybe we could be a little more low-key. Tell Mr. Davidson we appreciate the certificate, but we'll pass on the prize? Evelyn didn't even look up from her papers. No, this is the community's recognition of our hardship and their reward for it. We must experience it personally, so as not to disappoint everyone. Me? Thank for nothing, everyone. So, what exactly is the prize? It's not money, is it? That would be way too painful. Evelyn finally put down her document, a strange look on her face. Mr. Davidson just sent a message. The prize is a 1-month term of exclusive rights to community area housework. Me? Did I hear that right? Housework for the public areas? Exclusive rights? Is that a prize or a punishment? I was dumbfounded. Wait, honey, exclusive? Won't that make everyone hate us? Evelyn rubbed her temples, looking a little exasperated herself. Mr. Davidson said it's to commend our hard-working spirit, referring to my spending. So they've specially granted us this most precious and rare experience of joy. This allows us to immerse ourselves in the pleasure of labor for a month, undisturbed. The other residents, after much discussion, though very reluctant, have agreed to restrain themselves and yield this joy to us. I almost coughed up blood. The logic was staggering. So, the prize was forcing the two of us to monopolize a month of joyful labor, and no one else was allowed to help? That's great, I said, forcing a smile. Evelyn glanced at me. You'd better be careful. I'm allowing you to enjoy this pleasure this time, but you need to watch it. Don't you dare do all the work yourself. I nodded. This honor was making my head spin. Early Saturday morning, Evelyn dragged me out of bed. She made me put on a bright yellow vest with Star of Joy printed on it, which she had procured from God knows where. She wore a matching one in pink. They were incredibly garish. I whined, honey, do we really have to go? And this color is just so... Evelyn expressionlessly handed me a brand new broom. Put it on. It's a symbol of honor. The moment we went downstairs, we saw Mr. Davidson and a few board members holding a small kickoff ceremony. In the plaza, a banner was strung up. A warm congratulations to Liam and Evelyn on receiving exclusive labor rights. A crowd of neighbors stood around, their faces a mixture of envy, congratulations, and poorly concealed disappointment. Mr. Davidson rushed over excitedly when he saw us, grabbing my hand. Liam, Evelyn, you're here. Look, we've prepared all the tools for you, brand new. Everything from brooms, mops, and rags to a lawnmower and hedge trimmers. For the next month, the beauty and cleanliness of our community are in your hands to protect. You must enjoy this rare pleasure to the fullest. I looked at the row of gleaming torture instruments, my legs feeling weak. Evelyn, however, was perfectly calm. She simply nodded. Thank you, Mr. Davidson. And thank you, everyone. We will cherish this opportunity. After the ceremony, the neighbors dispersed reluctantly, casting long, mournful looks back at us, leaving the vast common areas to just the two of us. The world suddenly fell silent. I stared at the empty paths and gardens and swallowed hard. Honey, where do we start? My voice trembled. Evelyn surveyed the area, then pointed to the tree-lined path covered in the most leaves. Let's begin on this path of joy. You sweep, I'll collect. Resigned to my fate, I lifted the new broom, which felt like it weighed a ton. I took a deep breath and started feebly pushing the leaves around. I'd barely made 2 swipes when a melancholic voice drifted over from nearby. Son, that's not how you hold a broom. I jumped. Turning around, I saw Mr. Henderson from Unit 3 peeking around a corner, staring at me with eyes full of longing and a desire to coach. Mr. Henderson, you're still here. I'm just watching, he said, wringing his hands. Your form is all wrong. Your back isn't straight. You can't experience the core joy that way. Look, you should do it like this. He instinctively started to demonstrate. Mr. Davidson appeared out of nowhere and grabbed him. Hey, Artie, we agreed. No interfering. Let the young couple experience it for themselves. Come on, let's go play chess. Mr. Henderson was dragged away, still looking back at me as if I were a Philistine desecrating a masterpiece. Me? Evelyn was already holding a dustpan, looking at me. Continue. I gritted my teeth and went back to sweeping, cursing under my breath. Why were there so many leaves? Why was this broom so heavy? My poor back. Evelyn followed behind me, collecting the leaf piles into large trash bags. She was surprisingly efficient, her expression serene. Did she actually enjoy this? I couldn't keep up. After 10 minutes, I was panting, leaning on the broom for support. Evelyn stopped and looked at me. Tired? I nodded like a bobblehead. Yes, so tired. This joy is too heavy. I can't bear it. Evelyn nodded. Then take a 5-minute break. One must ease into enjoyment. Overindulgence is counterproductive. Granted a pardon, I immediately plopped down on a nearby planter. But I barely settled when I noticed movement in several apartment windows. Shadowy figures were watching us, some even using binoculars. My scalp tingled. We were being watched the entire time. As soon as the break was over, Evelyn stood up. Let's continue. I had no choice but to drag myself up and resume my battle with the leaves. For the rest of the day, under the envious and watchful eyes of our neighbors, we swept paths, wiped down gym equipment, and weeded flower beds. Evelyn took the lead on that. My job was to complain about being tired. I spent the whole day grimacing, drenched in sweat. It felt worse than pulling overtime in my previous life. The psychological pressure was immense, feeling countless eyes judging whether my form was correct, whether I looked happy enough. Evelyn, however, remained steady throughout. Occasionally, when my technique was particularly pathetic, she would offer a simple correction like, lower your center of gravity or match your breathing. Finally, as the sun began to set, Mr. Davidson came to inspect our joyful results. He looked at the clean paths and tidy gardens and nodded in satisfaction. Excellent, excellent. A job well done. Look at these results, that palpable sense of fulfillment. Keep it up tomorrow. I dragged my aching body home alongside Evelyn, who was also covered in dust. The moment we were inside, I collapsed onto the rug, unwilling to move a muscle. Honey, this prize is really something. I'm on weekly. Evelyn took off her shoes, poured a glass of water, and glanced down at me. You'd better cherish the remaining 29 days. My world went dark. Oh, dear God, this exclusive right to joy. Whoever wants it can have it. I really can't take it anymore. This wasn't a reward. It was torture. A sweet, sweet torture. After that month was finally over, I got to enjoy a few days of peace. Evelyn seemed a bit busier than before. She had more conference calls and sometimes worked late in her study, a frown on her face as she stared at her laptop. I didn't dare ask what was wrong. What if she was just enjoying the challenges of her work? If I asked, wouldn't it seem like I was envious? This afternoon, I was sprawled on the couch, debating whether to buy a smart speaker that could be programmed to insult me, to increase my spiritual suffering, or a limited edition coffee said to be incredibly disgusting to torture my taste buds. Suddenly, Evelyn's phone, which was on the coffee table, started ringing. She was in the bathroom. I glanced at the caller ID, Dad. My father-in-law. I immediately sat up straight. The phone kept ringing. Worried it might be an emergency, I called out to the bathroom. Honey, it's your dad. Evelyn's voice came through the door. Can you get it for me? Put on speaker. Oh, okay. I quickly picked up the phone, cleared my throat, and solemnly swiped to answer, tapping the speakerphone icon. Hello, Dad. I tried to make my voice sound both obedient and miserable, as befits someone enduring the pain of a lavish lifestyle. My father-in-law, Arthur Sterling's deep voice came through the line. He sounded serious, maybe even grave. Liam, where's Evelyn? He asked. Yes, Dad, I'm here. Evelyn's listening too. I answered quickly. Good. Mr. Sterling paused, his tone growing heavier. There's a situation I need to tell you about. At the company, that green energy project we invested in last quarter, there's been an unexpected development. My heart clenched. An unexpected development. Did they lose money? That was great news. In this world, isn't losing money a success? Why do you sound so upset? Evelyn came out of the bathroom, drying her hands as she listened. Mr. Sterling let out a sigh, so heavy it sounded like the world was ending. Sigh. I don't know what happened. Their tech team had a sudden breakthrough. Costs plummeted, and efficiency shot up. Now, several major venture capital firms are fighting to get in on it. The valuation, it's multiplied several times over. Me? Wait a minute. That means they made money. A lot of money. Why did my father-in-law sound like the sky was falling? Evelyn's brow furrowed. Mr. Sterling continued, his voice laced with anguish. This is a disaster. We didn't get the projected losses. Instead, we're looking at massive profits. Think of all the unnecessary joy and burden that will create. The old-timers on the board are about to. They're about to have a collective breakdown. What are we going to do? Those guys enjoying themselves by working overtime every day, and this is the mess they create for us. I was floored. They were stressed out because they made too much money. This world was insane. Mr. Sterling's tone shifted. Evelyn, how has Liam been doing? I heard he's developed quite a knack for suffering lately. His mind seems to have gotten a bit sharper. A bad feeling crept over me. Sure enough, he continued, this problem is too big for conventional solutions. You young people think outside the box. Could Liam help us think of something? Come up with some ideas on how to quickly and effectively liquidate these excess profits? How to manufacture some losses to alleviate everyone's pain? I almost choked. He wanted me to figure out how to lose money, a massive fortune at that. Mr. Sterling, you have way too much faith in me. Evelyn looked at me, her expression complicated. She didn't answer right away. I quickly spoke into the phone. Dad, that's an immense responsibility. I don't think I can handle it, and I don't have any experience in that area. In my past life, I was a broke programmer. What did I know about squandering a corporate empire? Mr. Sterling's tone was firm. Don't worry about it. Just think freely, consider it. A special practical exercise in hardship. As long as you can get rid of the money, it'll be fine. I believe in your potential. Me? You see potential in me as a professional failure? Evelyn finally spoke, her voice calm. Okay, Dad, we understand. We'll let Liam give a try. Mr. Sterling sounded relieved. Excellent. I'll leave it in your hands then. Get a plan to us as soon as you can. The pressure here is immense. And he hung up. I stared at the phone, then at Evelyn, dumbfounded. Honey, I really can't do this. What if I screw it up? Evelyn put the towel down and sat across from me. Dad said to try, so you'll try. There's no can or can't. Just like he said, think freely. When it comes to spending money, you should be quite an expert. Looking at her calm face, it suddenly clicked. She was right. I was a veteran from the front lines of suffering. When it came to burning money, I was a professional, and this was a direct order to do it. Could there be a better job in the world? My spirits soared. I rubbed my hands together. Honey, you're right. This is my solemn duty. The time has come for me to serve the family. Just watch me. I immediately grabbed my phone and tablet and started searching frantically. Honey, what do you think about investing in movies? We'll exclusively fund films with terrible scripts, unknown directors, and casts full of nepotism hires. The chances of losing money are practically guaranteed. Evelyn nodded. Plausible. Write it down. Or we could fund scientific research. Invest in labs that sound completely ridiculous, like researching how to generate electricity for banana peels, or how to make a washing machine that can stir-fry vegetables. The corner of Evelyn's mouth twitched. Interesting. What else? More. We can buy land, exclusively in the middle of nowhere, preferably in disaster-prone areas, next to a desert at the foot of a volcano. Or we could buy a deserted island, one that's infested with mosquitoes. And so it went, one of us spouting crazy ideas, the other listening intently. We huddled over the coffee table, crafting all sorts of get-poor-quick schemes. I poured out every single money-losing idea I could think of. Evelyn would occasionally add a suggestion or agree that one of my wilder ideas warranted further discussion. At some point, I forgot this was even an assignment. I was completely lost in the sheer joy of planning this financial sabotage. Oh, honey, I slapped my thigh. We could start a foundation. It would exclusively give failure grants to entrepreneurs with the most spectacular, tragic business collapses. We'd be incentivizing people to lose money bravely. Evelyn looked up at me, a spark in her eyes. She didn't speak for a few seconds, just watched me. Then a small, genuine smile touched her lips. It wasn't her usual cool, distant smile. This was real. Liam, she said, you really do have a gift for this. I scratched my head, a little embarrassed. Hey, it's nothing. Just a lot of accumulated suffering that's given me some insights. Her smile faded, but the ice in her eyes had thawed. Organize these ideas. Put together a simple proposal. It doesn't have to be complex, just as long as it demonstrates rapid liquidation and sustained suffering. You got it. Leave it to me. I puffed out my chest. I guarantee Dad and the board will be satisfied. Evelyn nodded and stood up, intending to get some water. As she passed me, she paused for a fraction of a second. So quickly I almost missed it. She reached out and gently patted my shoulder. Thank you, she said, and then walked away. I sat there, stunned, the faint pressure of her touch still lingering on my shoulder. I looked down at the chaotic list of bad ideas on my tablet, then up at Evelyn's back as she filled a glass of water. A new thought surfaced. This whole losing money on purpose thing. It's actually pretty great. And it felt like for the first time, there was something I could actually do to help her. Even if that something was figuring out how to go bankrupt. This world was hopeless. But I think I was starting to really like it. Later, I actually organized my go broke proposal and sent it to my father-in-law. He replied with a simple read, and that was it. I had no idea if they used my ideas or not. But my mission was complete, and I was feeling pretty good about it. One morning, I woke up late, the sun already high in the sky. I yawned and ambled out of the bedroom to find the house eerily quiet. Something was wrong. Normally by this time, Evelyn would have already left to go enjoy herself. Even on the rare occasion, she was running late. I'd hear her getting ready. But today there was nothing. I tiptoed to her bedroom door. We slept in separate rooms, and pressed my ear against it. I could hear a few muffled coughs, her voice sounding hoarse. My heart skipped a beat. No way. The Iron Lady can get sick? What does getting sick even mean in this world? Is it a forced, enjoyable rest? Or is it an extra form of suffering? I hesitated, then knocked gently on the door. Honey, are you okay? There was a moment of silence before Evelyn's voice came back, thick with congestion. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. That voice did not sound fine at all. I started to worry. Forgetting all the rules, I turned the knob and went in. The room was dim. Evelyn was curled up in bed, wrapped in a duvet. Her face was flushed, her hair was a mess, and she looked pitiful. When she saw me come in, she tried to bury her head under the covers but was racked by another coughing fit. What are you doing in here? Get out. Her voice was weak, but she was still trying to maintain her usual icy demeanor. I ignored her and walked over, placing my hand on her forehead. Whoa, she was burning up. You have a fever, I exclaimed. What's your temperature? Have you taken anything? Evelyn turned her head away, avoiding my hand. I took something. It's not a big deal. I'll be fine after I rest. You should go. Don't let me disturb you. Relaxation. She stressed the word relaxation as if it were a dirty word. Seeing her trying to act tough when she was clearly miserable, a strange anger flared up in me. She was this sick, and she was still hung up on that enjoyment nonsense. Relaxation. What relaxation? You're sick. You need to be taken care of. My voice rose without me realizing it. You wait here. I'll get you some hot water. I turned and started to walk out. Evelyn called out weakly from behind me. Liam, don't. I can get it myself. Just stay put. I cut her off without looking back and bolted to the kitchen. I filled the kettle, found mug. Watching the water boil, all my concerns about the world's rules evaporated. To hell with this world. My wife was sick. I carried the hot water back to her room and helped her sit up a bit. Slowly, Evelyn looked at me, her expression complicated, but she took a few sips from the mug I held for her. The water was just the right temperature. After she drank, she burrowed back under the covers and whispered, Thanks. You can go now. I don't want you to get sick. The leisure of a sick day is nothing special. I didn't move. I just looked at her. Have you eaten this morning? She shook her head. Wait here. I went back to the kitchen. I opened the fridge. It was full of fancy ingredients, but just looking at them gave me a headache. I decided to keep it simple. I took out some rice, washed it, and put it in a pot with water to make porridge. When I returned with a bowl of passable-looking white porridge, Evelyn seemed to have fallen asleep again. I gently woke her. Eat something before you go back to sleep. She stared at the steaming bowl for a moment, then took it without a word and began to eat in small, slow spoonfuls. She quietly finished most of the bowl, and some color returned to her face. More? I asked. She shook her head, handed me the bowl, and lay back down, closing her eyes. After a long moment, she said, her voice barely a whisper, the porridge was a little burnt. Me? Well, if she could still find fault, she wasn't dying. I took the empty bowl to the kitchen to wash it. As I reached the door, I heard her voice, even fainter this time. Next time, don't add so much water. I paused, my back still to her, and just said, okay. After cleaning up the kitchen, I was still worried. I crept back to her door and peeked inside. She seemed to be sleeping peacefully, her breathing more even. I let out a sigh of relief and just sat down on the floor outside her door, pulling out my phone. I started painfully scrolling, mostly just watching the clock, trying to figure out when to wake her up for her next dose of medicine. I don't know how much time passed. I was dozing off when I heard another cough from inside. I jolted awake and poked my head in. Honey, need some water? Evelyn's eyes were half open. She looked at me, then at where I was sitting by the door, and asked in a raspy voice, You've been there this whole time? I scratched my head. What, no? I was just passing by, checking to see if you were still breathing. Didn't want you to die and stop funding my painful existence. I almost blew my cover. Evelyn didn't say anything, just looked at me for a few long seconds. Then very, very slowly, she shifted over in the bed, making a small space on the edge. She wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were fixed on the ceiling, and her voice was almost inaudible. Aren't you tired of standing? You can sit for a bit. I froze, staring at that small patch of empty mattress. I felt a gentle thud in my chest. I hesitantly walked over and carefully sat down in the space she'd made. I perched right on the edge, my body tense and straight. The room was silent, save for the sound of her soft breathing. My palms were sweating. I didn't dare move a muscle. After what felt like an eternity, I heard her breathing deepen and even out. She must have fallen asleep again. I let out a quiet sigh of relief and relaxed my posture slightly. Looking at her peaceful face, stripped of its usual coldness and distance, she was actually quite beautiful. A thought suddenly occurred to me. This world, it's actually pretty great. Yeah, it's really great. I hope this isn't a dream, because if it is, I never want to wake up.